I can still clearly remember the first time I was completely shaken by the brokenness in the world. It was in Chinatown, in New York City. I was waiting to cross at an intersection with my parents when I saw an older Chinese lady digging through a garbage can. She was looking for drinks that people had discarded and was drinking the rest of all the little plastic bubble teas and soda bottles that she found. I was so stunned. I remember that I didn't sleep that night. I remember clearly because that was the first time in my life that I had stayed awake for an entire night. I was probably around 8 years old. Her face was always on my mind. It's kind of been that way since then. But I'm also hesitant to portray myself this way, as someone so empathetic and someone to commend. Because if I'm completely honest with myself, I'd rather not remember all their faces. I'd rather sleep peacefully and not feel so weighed down with all these things. So then I guess you could say that all of this is from God, because it's certainly not something I've ever decided to feel. It's just something I do, and I guess God is using that. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure how our Abba Father has transformed my heart that so often breaks. I think of these grand stories about transformation or redemption or restoration or any of these Asian words, and I'm just all the more aware how that isn't my story. Yet, at least. I just know that I have a heart that is so constantly shaken and that I am constantly led to places where it will break yet again. It started by seeing a woman drinking from almost empty containers in Chinatown, to being laughed at for following a God that didn't exist, to so many other things. What understanding I do have of all of this, though, is as little as a child's understanding. I think of John 11 where it says, "When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, 'Where have you laid him?' They said to him, 'Lord, come and see.' Jesus wept. So the Jews said, 'See how he loved him.' So that, if anything, is my hope and prayer. I long to live a life worthy of the phrase, 'See how he loved him.' When I am crying about the struggles of a dear friend, I pray that it may be said of me, 'See how he loves them.' And that when I am working in Nepal with farmers or whomever, it may be said of me, 'See how he loves them.'" And this story is not my own because I am not doing this on my own. My own story is just a tiny part of the grand redemptive narrative of what God is doing in the world. My story is carried by the great breaths of wind of the testimonies of my friends who laugh and cry with me, of the Nepalis I will learn to love and be loved by, and of all of those whose stories are bound with mine.